Jimmy Flame Daddy, the art of hitting your opponent with a planet. Man, I'm jacked about today. I got a man from my hometown, Baltimore, Maryland, call me up, talking a whole lot of trash about wrestling, baby, just like we like to do around here. On today's show, we got the last real gentleman, Drew-Bronson, from the Emerald City. Some people call it Murder City, but I'm going to stay away from that one. The last real gentleman, Drew-Bronson, out there in Maryland. He's coming out this way on the West Coast pretty soon. He gets to that a little bit in the interview as well. He's wrestling for EWA out that way. He's wrestling for Evolve. He talks a little bit about wrestling for Evolve and wrestling with some of them dudes from Shikara up in Philly. I mean, he's a man. He's a force to be reckoned with out there. He's trained with Drew Gulak from NXT and Evolve. He's done American X Wrestling. I believe he's becoming a regular out that way, out there in Pennsylvania as well. But nevertheless, he travels extensively on the East Coast, mostly Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that scene. And it was a real pleasure talking to him. We're going to get to that interview here in a second. But first, I just want to remind you, we're going to iHeartRadio. We're also going to the Stitcher app, Blueberry. We're going to all of them. We're going to be on iTunes. You can check us out all over the place now. Jimmy Flame been busy promoting this show to get them wrestlers and all the wrestling personalities out there. Anybody who comes on this show, we're going to get some good exposure, daddy. We're going to be everywhere. iTunes, iHeartRadio, Blueberry, the Stitcher app. Did you know that they put the Stitcher app in all new Mercedes-Benzes? We're going to have some people with money listening to y'all, daddy. Anyhow, great show today. Once again, I got the last real gentleman, Drew-Bronson, East Coast wrestler. He's coming out to the West Coast soon. We're going to hear a little bit from him. Right now, I got him on the phone, daddy. Yo, last real man, Drew-Bronson, what it is?
I'm doing good. The weather out here is actually pretty warm, surprisingly, in the middle of February.
Right. Yeah, y'all get some snow and all that crazy stuff out there.
Yeah, complete opposite, though. It's like 80 degrees out here, so I'm soaking it up right now, actually talking to you outside.
What?
I know, it's crazy.
80 degrees? Yeah. Man, that's like New Orleans weather right now.
Sounds good.
Right. So everyone's got a crazy story about how they got involved in pro wrestling. I'm pretty sure you got one, too. Let us have it. What got you involved in pro wrestling?
Well, I mean, I was younger. Every kid's story starts off as I watched wrestling as a kid. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to do it. I didn't really know the path of how to actually become a wrestler, so I didn't know really like the outlets to do it. So instead I went to college, wasted 4 years of my life on a criminal justice degree that I don't use. And funny enough, I ended up at one of my little nephew's like birthday parties, and he's obsessed with wrestling. He still is. And he had it at a little warehouse in Dundalk called EWA Pain Factory. And I showed up, went to his birthday, and then I ended up talking to the owner of the place. And straight up after that, I ended up quitting college. I was like, I'm done. I'm 24. I got to start wrestling. So I started training there for a little bit. Until I moved away, I ended up moving out to Kent Island, which is like the eastern shore of Maryland, and the only place by me there ended up being a wrestling facility called 1CW out in Delaware, so I had to drive about a good hour, 45 minutes to get to wrestling training every day. It was good training, ended up learning a lot, moved back here, did a little bit more EWA, and starting last year, I ended up putting myself on the road to make this wrestling thing actually work out for me.
Sweet. So, pretty straightforward. So you mentioned the college degree. What was your pursuit there? What were you looking to do with a college degree?
Well, I mean, I've always had an interest in like the criminal justice system, like just law itself and just the science behind everything and how they solve crimes and stuff like that. I don't know what it was. It just, science itself was a great thing for me. And so I decided to go do that right after I played a little bit of music after high school. So I decided it was time to get to college. And I needed a backup for wrestling because wrestling was kind of always something in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. So I figured no better reason to go to college than to have a backup if wrestling fails me.
Oh, I feel that. I got 2 college degrees myself. A lot of people are actually blown away when they find that out. and I went to law school.
We talked about that, and I saw like your little picture that you posted about you and like that college picture. I was like, whoa, look at this. That's pretty cool.
It's like night and day, man. It's like I like how Bob Evans refers to it as your Clark Kent life and then your Superman life.
Yeah,
everyone's got that. You know,
you meet some interesting people in wrestling, man. Like I've met people who are lawyers. I've met like government officials and stuff like that, and I'm like, how do you find the time to balance like running a state or running a city or a town, and then doing this on the side?
Right.
What do people think about you?
Exactly.
Cool.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, I mean, I agree with you right there. It's like wrestling draws some interesting characters, and I don't think fans really. I don't think they really care, but I don't think they really know either. Like the diversity in professional wrestling. Like you said, there's like lawyers sitting in the locker room. There's burger flippers sitting in the locker room, and the cool bond is like professional wrestling, and you wouldn't see, you know, these kind of gatherings, you know, outside of this setting. Would you agree with that?
I don't think if it was for wrestling, I would ever talk to like the mayor of Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, or a lawyer of some place I've never been to. Like it's just that one like common denominator where we all show up. We're wrestlers. We're not a mayor or a lawyer. We're all that. Like we're just wrestling here.
Right. So you mentioned, you know, I'm coming out there to Baltimore to wrestle in June, and you told me before, prior to this conversation, that you grew up across the street from the venue that this event is happening in. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about that neighborhood where you grew up, and maybe a little bit about BCW?
Yeah, BCW is like a new startup company that's happening around here. The pavilion is playing at is William J. Myers. I think Ring of Honor has ran out of there like once or twice. It's literally on the hillside of Baltimore City. So it's where I grew up. Right across the street is the elementary school called Curtis Bay Elementary. So their inaugural show is March 25th, Urban Warfare. I know D'Angelo De Niro's coming out there, the Pope. He'll be there for the show. There are a few other good named wrestlers coming out from like New York and a bunch of other places that are looking like it's going to be a good crowd too. The event page is kind of blowing up a lot lately. But the area that it's in, it's like Baltimore, but outskirts of Baltimore, so it's got that suburbs feel of Baltimore City, which kind of sounds weird. But
right. No, I grew up there. I know exactly what you're saying, and it's hard to describe.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, as a kid, I kind of tried to like keep myself out of trouble growing up there because it's a pretty troubled area. I mean, it's gotten a little bit worse now, but it's still livable. But I just kept myself out of trouble by skateboarding, finishing school, doing all that stuff. But I spent most of my time in Baltimore City anyway. I was either at the harbor all the time, or I was in Locust Point because I lived there at one point too. But man, if you've never been to Baltimore City, like it's a very, very under-traveled city. It's a place that people should at least go to once or twice. And I know the media doesn't really portray it as a great place, but it's amazing once you come here. Like it's surprising.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest. It's one of the oldest cities in America. It's right up there in the annals of history, and you know, there's some great people that come. I mean, everybody knows that Edgar Allan Poe came out of there, and that the Baltimore Ravens are the only sports team, as far as I know, named after a freaking poet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I'm sure every state says it. Every state says it, but like they're like diehard sports fans here. Like the people here are diehard. You have to be pretty diehard to be a Baltimore Orioles fan for the last like 14 years.
Oh, even longer than that, man.
I think, gosh.
Well, the last 2 years has been pretty fun.
It's been
go O's, you know what I'm saying? But pretty much after Cal Ripken left, the team went downhill.
God, I think it started going downhill after we lost Messina. Like after that, we had like Sidney Ponzone and just guys that no one has ever heard of unless they have like Oriole cards from 1999 or anything like that. Like,
right. Okay, you're speaking my language now. Mike Messina, the Moose.
Baseball. If wrestling never worked out, I played baseball in high school actually, but I got hurt. I ruined my shoulder. I loved baseball. Right. Baseball was the best sport ever.
Hell yeah. You remember Greg Olson, the relief pitcher?
I think I've heard that name, yeah.
He's a closer from way back in the day. Like, I remember we used to, when I was a kid, I'm a little bit older than you, but I remember when I was a kid, we used to go up to 33rd Street, the old Memorial Stadium. It was so easy to sneak in because the center field was wide open to the street. And all you had to do was go up to center field, and if there wasn't any security guards back there, you could walk under the bleachers and then climb up the railing and just sit the nose piece free.
Man, I wish I was around for that stadium. I keep hearing, like, stories about it from, like, my dad and my grandpa when he was alive. But I was born, like, the same exact year that Camden Yards got built, so I've only known Camden Yards as the sports stadium in Maryland. And, I mean, one of the it's still, like, listed on MLB as, like, one of the top stadiums in the entire country, which is crazy because it's, like, 20-plus years old now.
Right. It's I remember when that thing was being built, and they built it to look and feel like old time. You know what I mean? Like had the railroad building in the background. All the bleachers were set up, like an old stadium. And I remember the big innovation at that time was they took all the seats and they faced them towards home plate. So if you think about like other technological advances in stadiums, that seems relatively mundane. But back then, I remember that was a big deal to be able to have your seat actually face home plate at any angle.
That would have been crazy. Imagine just having like a seat right behind a pole. You couldn't see anything at these old stadiums. That's ridiculous.
Right. That's like Segways like that. There's seats that literally sit right behind poles. The old Yankee Stadium was like that.
Not a ticket I would have ever wanted to buy.
Right. Well, that's the ticket you buy if you're still in the standing room only part. That's how you ran out of that. So you've the last real with Drew Bronson here, by the way, again, and so you've wrestled for Evolve in American X Wrestling. You trained with NXT and Evolve Drew Gulak, and then you faced Hatfield from Shikara. You gonna tell us a little bit about that? What that experience was like facing Hatfield?
Man, I've gotten, like I said, I have only been on the road for, I think it's still less than a year. I think in 2 months it'll be a full year. So I've gotten extremely lucky with the people I've met and the people I've talked to. That Evolved seminar that was ran by Drew Gulak also had William Regal in attendance too, so I got to meet and talk to William Regal for a little while. But it pushed you. Like I had been trained, I had done all that stuff. I thought my cardio was like up to top notch. But dude, that NXT tryout, they run you down. Like they roll you till you can't see. They do a lot. But I mean, I made it through and ended up putting on a performance for Evolve before their Evolve show, which ended up getting me a call down to wrestle for them in January. It was about January 20-something of this month, this year. So I went down there, wrestled in Tampa. It was a long drive. I actually drove 15 hours just to get wrestling. Right. But it was an experience that I didn't think I'd get so soon. So I got, like, incredibly lucky.
That is awesome. That's freaking awesome. I mean, you can parlay that stuff into so much. You can roll in an appearance like that for a couple of years sometimes,
Yeah, people have told me that. They're like, make sure that is in your resume, because if it's not, then you're just some other guy. And I'm like, yeah, it's in my resume now. I mean, I'm trying to make sure people are like, he's done this. But we plug it in now. That's for sure. Yeah. But because of that, I've actually added a lot of shows to my list, like American X. They're an up-and-coming company, too. This is their third show, I believe. I've only ever been on the first two so far, so this is going to be my second one. It's a really big company out in Pennsylvania. They're growing pretty well. This upcoming show is March 11th. I'm going to be wrestling Dasher Hatfield from Shikara, which is going to be an intense match. I'm sure the people who are listening to this have watched his stuff on YouTube or seen him at like local shows, because Shikara is a pretty big brand out of Philly. But I'm excited for that match because it's something I didn't think I'd do so soon. But here I am 2 or 3 weeks out, and I'm about to wrestle a guy from Shikara. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's freaking awesome, man. Well, congrats on all your success so far. you're heading out to the West Coast for a trip pretty soon. You want to quickly plug that real quick, and then and give let everybody out there know how they can get a hold of you on the internets and all that fun stuff, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, actually, towards the end of May, I think it's the 26th through the 28th, myself, Kiko Amana, and Sammy Pandora, we're actually heading out to Seattle to wrestle for 3-2-1 Battle. That's a Friday show. We're currently looking to find a Saturday show, and I think I was just talking to Kiko and a few other people that you have mentioned to me about trying to figure out how to get into Northern California to find something. So if anyone's listening out there, that's a promoter, Saturday the 27th, I believe. We are going to be out there, so we are looking for something. Sunday, I'll be back in Oregon, in Portland, wrestling for NWA. I think BJ Darden was his name. You'd hooked me up with him, and I got his contact.
Yeah. NWA BCW right down there in Portland at the Eagles Lodge. That's right.
Yeah, so
Portland Eagles Lodge. It's a freaking great venue.
It's funny enough, like you would think Saturday show, since it's a big run time, it'd be easy to bill, but for some reason it's super hard to get a Saturday show on the West Coast, and I'm learning that right now, but I'm going to figure it out. Real quick, I'm just going to do a shout out right to the Super Beast down there in Northern California. Hook this man up. His name's the last real gentleman, Drew Bronson. Super Beast, you listen, hook this man up. Get a hold of me, you know better. Let's get this guy a show on that Saturday. Yeah, get me working on a Saturday. I don't want to come out there for 2 wrestling shows. I want to wrestle 3 days in a row.
I heard that.
But, anyone can contact me really on Facebook. You can find me on there. It's my regular profile, my profile where I'm reaching out to most people is Andrew D'Ambrosio, DAMBROSIO. I can be contacted by email. It's Andrew Michael, MICHAEL, D'Ambrosio @gmail.com. I take most of my bookings there. But to be honest, I'm way easier to find through Facebook because like I said, I do a lot of my casting of lines out on there to try to get myself out to places like California or Oregon or Washington.
For sure, man. When you live in the modern age, that's how we do it these days.
Yeah, I don't know what we would do without computers.
All right. Last real gentleman, Drew Bronson, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I'll see you soon, my brother.
All right, thank you for your time, man.
Well, you heard it from the man right there, ladies and gentlemen. Last real man, Drew Bronson. Don't forget, we on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Blueberry, Stitcher app. We all over the place. Expanding them audiences, daddy, for people like Drew Bronson. Promoters, bookers, wrestlers. Talking that wrestling trash game all over the place, daddy, like we do around here on the Art of Hitting Your Opponent with a Planet. Hosted by yours truly, Jimmy Flame. I'm going to get out of here. Until next time, I'll see y'all boogie later. Ow!